You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, a program of Dear Texas Read and sponsored by Texas Authors Incorporated. If you would like to ask today's guest author a question, please do so on Twitter using the hashtag Dear Texas Radio. However, not all questions will be answered during the show. Now sit back and enjoy listening to today's show and learn about a Texas author and their books.
Hi, this is Rox Berkey, and thank you very much for joining us on Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage folks to drop everything and read. And I think we're in for a really fun time this evening exploring my guest, Dorothy Tinker. We're going to talk about her fantasy writing and the worlds that she creates. Welcome, Dorothy.
Thank you, Roxanne. Glad to be here.
Well, I think we need to get right into it. And one of the ways I want to do this, if it's acceptable to you, is have you tell our listeners a little bit about how you turned your education and world into writing.
Well, I've been writing since I was 13, and that's basically when my dream of being a writer kind of came about. Kind of lost it when I went to college because, like so many people, I was told writing can't support me, so I decided to study math in college. And so studied math, took a couple of years to try and find something to do with math, and finally rediscovered my dream of being a writer and rededicated myself down on writing the books that I've been working on.
Now, what's interesting about your series is not only are you a fascinating writer and you seem to take some real focus on, I guess, what some would call a fantasy style, but you create your own worlds, right?
Oh, yeah. Universe is in my head.
There you go. So how did you start that? Was that part of just your writing process or your imagination or all of the above?
Interestingly enough, the story that my series is about, I currently have 3 books out: Piece of Evon, Gift of War, and Lost King. It should be a 5-book series by the end of it. This one actually started. I always say it started with the map of the world. It's the country that it's set in is 5 provinces, all different terrains. You have desert, plains, forests, mountains, and hills. And I was always basically kind of fascinated with the different ways they might be created, and basically how they could coincide.
So in doing that, I mean, you obviously have some command of climates and with these different terrains that you've structured. How are your characters fitting into these areas? Because I think that's part of the charm.
Say that again?
I think that's part of the charm.
Yeah. Each area, different terrain actually has fostered a different group. So one of the things about my series is that each area has its own rebellious group that bothered the people and then has come about to actually support the people. So in the desert, there are the nomads who travel from oasis to oasis. There's the highwaymen who hide in the forests and attack the caravans along the highways. In the mountains is where the thieves are, and there's actually a hidden city within the mountains. So each area kind of supports the different groups depending on what the terrain is.
And that's fascinating. And so your 5 areas, is that why you were planning on 5 books in the series at this juncture?
Not exactly. The reason there's 5 books is basically because the story became too large. It was all one story, and I just had to find places to break it up.
Okay. Now, interestingly enough, Piece of Evon was originally called Piece of Evan Missing Air, and you've reissued that. Why?
Yes. I originally my original publication, Piece of Evan Missing Air, was actually what is now the first 2 books of the series. Like I said, I had to decide where to break it up because it was just way too long. The first book was about 200,000 words, and it turned out it was a bit daunting.
Yeah.
And there was a nice breaking point right in the middle, it turned out.
Oh, well, good. Good. And so now I know that you've been working on this a while, and you've kind of changed some of your thinking. How has that affected the next book that's coming out in your series, which I think is The Forgotten Goddess?
Yes, Forgotten Goddess is going to be the 4th book. I've actually been working on it for a while. It's going to have kind of a different tact than the others, simply because things are coming to a head. Characters are changing because of certain situations, and in learning the craft, because I've spent the last few years working with the Houston Writers Guild and learning craft with them and other organizations to better flow and to figure out what really fits in the stories. And it's kind of helping me see how the story's going a little bit better.
Nice. So the group is actually helping kind of give you some extra perspective that maybe you didn't have initially.
Yeah.
So I know that you like to go to festivals. In fact, you and I originally met at one of the festivals, but one of the things that makes you very unique is you actually almost immerse yourself into the story as a part of the character structure. So, yes. I mean, it's like a very special, unique identity you've created.
I have one of my author identities. I actually call myself the Bard of Avon, the Royal Bard of Avon. And I had a book launch a while ago when I broke up Piece of Avon Missing Air into 2 books, and I invited people to the capital of Avon and welcomed them to enjoy enjoy what the land had to offer, basically. But yeah, and at festivals and stuff, I always have little figurines of different characters in my books. There's 2 horses and a dragon, so those are always present on my tables. And I also have a quilt that was given to me by a family member, or made for me by a family member, I should say, that has representations from the original book.
And those items not only make you a very unique, focused on your series, but it also it allows for fun. So are your stories more for adults or children?
It's young adult is how they're categorized. It's basically about a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old, 2 characters trying to truly find themselves in this war and in this world.
So are these your favorite characters, or do you like some of your alter characters like your dragon and your horses, and because they take on a personality of their own as well?
Oh yeah, and I do perspectives from almost all of my characters. So throughout the series, you'll get perspectives from the 2 main human characters, the boy and the girl, and then the 2 horses and the dragon, as well as many other side characters. And some of my favorite characters are actually minor characters that show up a lot. So like there's a 1,000-year-old dragon who shows up in I think in almost every book, and then a seer who is from a long line of seers that basically helps the main characters find their path at the beginning and quite possibly the end.
So in doing this, and as you have written your stories, have you changed where you wanted them to go because of these characters that probably are so endearing, not only to the readers that you have and your fans, but also to you. Bringing back a 1,000-year-old dragon is no small fate.
Certainly not. And 1,000-year-old dragon actually, her importance is actually going to stretch all the way into the sequel series. And in fact, a lot of these characters will end up showing up in the sequel series. This world so fills my head that I have 14 or 15 books currently planned for this world. So they are certainly going to be running around for a while.
Now, do you actually work on more than one book at a time, or do you focus on one storyline at a time, even though you're kind of thinking about others?
I try mostly to focus on one storyline. I might have 2 different kinds of series going on, being written down at one time, but within one series, I usually try to stick with the story, maybe write down notes as they pop in my head, but it's like, okay, brain, let's focus on the one that is the next one in the series.
There you go. And real quick, I want to get in. Do you have like a website where people can go where they can see a little bit more information about you?
Yes. My website is www.balanceof7.com. 7 is spelled out. And I actually have bits and pieces of the world on the website. So information about the different gods and about the languages that are in the books and such.
And so you not only created your own world, you created your own languages, and then you have maps to go along with it to help people navigate through your world.
Yes. Technically, I didn't so much create my own language, but borrow existing ones and tweak them.
Oh, there you go.
I have languages based on German and Spanish, so they get littered throughout.
Very cool. Well, what I want to do, if it's all right, Dorothy, is I want to take a short break and hear from our sponsors. And when we come back, I want to dig into a couple of the other stories and then talk about where you're going to be available for people to see you. So stick around. Okay. We'll be right back.
Attention all ebook authors. Are you looking for the perfect place to sell your ebooks? Look no further than ebg247.com. Get your ebooks listed on our front page with a real-time royalty tracking dashboard and receive 80% of all your sales. That's ebg247.com. Why go anyplace else? No matter what your book genre or its cost, we make it the perfect place to sell your stories. That's ebg247.com. It's the web's best place to sell all your ebooks.
Living under a theocracy is tough enough, but out of nowhere, a secret mission threatens everything in a common soldier's life. Now Salvik must do all he can to protect his people and the woman he loves. The Gray Blade by Aaron Ward is the first in the God Swords series, available at your favorite bookstore or at books.txauthors.com. Longtime developmental editor Susan Malone fosters writers' innate talents to help them become successfully published authors. Over 50 Malone-edited books have sold to traditional publishers. Her authors' books win major literary awards, reach the bestsellers list, and become films. She offers in-depth, personalized editing and coaching to turn your manuscript into a successful published book. To learn more about Susan Malone's services, please visit maloneeditorial.com.
Love to read? Love to meet authors in person? Then check out bookfestival.network to find a book festival in your region of Texas. We are adding book festival events throughout the year, so sign up to get notices and even a coupon towards purchase of a Texas author's book. Sign up at bookfestival.network. Texas Authors is accepting entries into their 6th annual book contest. Go to books.txauthors.com and sign up. Contest is valid for Texas authors only and is open to anyone 18 years of age and older who published a book during the 2017 calendar year. Enter at books.txauthors.com today. Attention students in grades 6 through 12. Do you love to write? Texas Authors Institute of History is kicking off its first statewide short story contest for students. It's free to enter and a great way to begin your career in writing. Sign up at shortstory.texasauthors.institute for complete rules. Again, to enter, go to shortstory.texasauthors.institute. You can win cash prizes and an opportunity to be published. Hello, Texas authors. My name is Randy James, coming to you from my Carrollton recording studio, where I spend time writing and producing commercials for my radio endorsement clients, as well as my private freelance clients. I'd like the opportunity to help you sell more books with a commercial like this and get listeners of Dear Texas Radio excited about your title, all at a special introductory price, available to members of the Texas Association of Authors. Call or text 214-762-1942. That's 214-762-1942. You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, a program of Dear Texas Read and sponsored by Texas Authors Incorporated. If you would like to ask today's guest author a question, please do so on Twitter using the hashtag Dear Texas Radio. However, not all questions will be answered during the show. Now sit back and enjoy listening to today's show and learn about a Texas author and their books.
Hi, this is Rox Berkey back with Dorothy Tinker, and we're part of Dear Texas Radio. And again, we do encourage folks to drop everything and read. Dorothy and I are having a really fun conversation about her series and her world that she's created. And I guess if it's okay, Dorothy, I would really like to talk about some of what you're working on with regards to Forgotten Goddess, because that is the next one you're going to bring forward, right?
Yes, it is. Basically, with Forgotten Goddess, secrets are coming out that have been littering the entire series. Basically, the series is about a young noblewoman who's pretending to be a peasant-born boy and has been traveling the country. And since almost the beginning of the series, she's been traveling with the king, who's pretended to be a farmer throughout most of it. So these secrets have been hanging between them and hanging between them and the people that they've been helping. And so these secrets start coming out because there's now a threat to the throne, and everything basically is coming to a head in this book. And we get new enemies, we get new allies, and tying everything together, learning the true motivation of the major mortal bad guy is also another part of it.
And it's just fun. I mean, the whole thing is just an amazing amount of fun. So one thing that it seems like is important for your readership to know about are the existing gods, as well as this Forgotten Goddess that you're going to focus on in the next story. So there are a lot of gods and demigods that you have within this world that you created. How do they impact your two souls looking to find their way?
Well, so there's one secret that most of the characters don't know, but the readers do know through most of the series, is that one of the demigods is actually mortally incarnated and doesn't remember who they are. And so because of that, all of the demigods are trying to get this one particular demigod to remember who they are, because her not remembering is basically bringing about chaos, is threatening the balance that is the most important thing spiritually in this world.
So the spiritual side of this series is
about as important as the mortal side.
Okay, so it really does play that big of a role. I thought it did, but I wanted to make sure.
The gods are all actual characters in the series, so they pop up quite a bit.
And are they like classified as, some of them are good gods, some of them are bad gods, some of them are just naughty gods or tricksters?
Well, you could think of it as naughty gods. There's the idea of positive and negative, but since balance is the ultimate good, they're all really considered necessary. So that all the demigods, there's 4 sets of demigods. They come in pairs. And so, for example, you have life and death, and love and hate, and hope and fear. And so you have the positive sides and the negative sides, and they are all considered necessary. It's just they have to be able to balance each other. So when the circumstances throughout the book means that they become out of balance, then things really start to get out of whack.
Okay, so these demigods really control more of helping the balance within the world, and the souls, or the humans that are the focus of trying to complete their quest or their journey. Sorry if I'm not using the right word. The demigods are letting them go about their way, almost like a free will, unless they are going to hurt themselves, and then they kind of step in and re-guide them. Or it's so for the demigods, basically they are trying to control. They are trying to create balance. There is someone that's kind of considered bad, that one particular god or goddess that's considered bad, that is the bringer of chaos, and we don't say her name because that would only cause her to come forward. But whenever she does break free, she causes chaos, and so a new set of demigods has to be born in order to fight that chaos, basically, which is why there's 4 sets. Because the chaos bringer keeps breaking free. Well, she's being naughty. This is really fun. When you create your characters, what do you tend to pattern them after? Do you have people that you pattern them after, or something else?
Not really. They tend to take on lives of their own. It's almost the only one that I can really say I patterned after anything. I was heavily influenced by Tamara Pierce when I was younger. She has a Lioness series, and the idea of a young woman dressing up as a boy in order to learn weaponry and learn what is only considered viable for noble boys to learn. That fascinated me at that age, and that carried forward into my main character, Gemini, who has basically spent her entire life learning how to be a boy. She was her father's only heir, so she was basically raised as a boy would have been raised.
Oh, there you go. So finding out how the gender differences can be bridged is a part of this as well. Where are you going to be next, in case people want to come see you? Because you're fun. You have a fun way of talking about your books, and it's worth getting face to face with you to learn even more. So where are you going to be next? Oh
yeah, and I love talking to people. I am going to be at Anime Matsuri in Houston. It's at the end of March. I believe it's the last weekend of March. I'm going to have a table in Artist Alley that I'll be selling my books at there. And I'm hoping by then that I will have the 4th book, so we can get all 4 of those pretty books out.
Well, that'll be fun. I know that you routinely try to get to a lot of different festivals, and that information is available on your website as well. Where can people buy your books? If they're listeners on here that are new to your series, where's the best place for them to get your stories?
Places online will have it. So Amazon or txauthors.com will have it. You can even go to my website and be able to access the books through that, both ebook and in paperback.
Very nice. So they are available in both forms. That's cool.
Yes, they are.
So now the 4th book's going to come out, and then you're going to start on number 5. And just as a little teaser, do you have the name for number 5 that you want to share with folks?
I'm not sure. So I've been playing with the name. The current work, the title in progress is Love of Peace. I'm not sure if it's going to stay that, but that is the current working title.
Oh, cool.
So Love of Peace.
Love of Peace. So
Kind of a cyclical.
That would probably focus on your demigods for peace and war.
I don't want to say too much because it kind of it might give away the ending of the fourth book, but it deals a lot with relationships and with dealing with the major consequences of what happens at the end of the fourth book, because some major things happen.
Well, that's good. We're going to have to keep an eye on that when it comes out. And can people follow you on Twitter too, or Facebook, or where can people find you? I'm more heavily on Facebook. I do have a Twitter account, but I don't do much with it. So yeah, Facebook is probably better. Facebook and my website as well. Okay. And Facebook, you're under Dorothy Tinker, author.
Yes,
and then of course your website, and you do a blog, so you're kind of available most of the time. So any special advice that you'd like to give to up-and-coming writers who want to go into this genre?
Yes. It's kind of a two-parter advice. First, never give up. Never give up on the dream of writing. It took me several years before I finally reconnected with it and became determined to do it. But it is definitely, if that is your dream, do not give up on it. However, be patient as well and learn the craft, because I did go into this with a little bit of impatience, and I'm kind of still cleaning up from that.
Well, or learning.
So take the time to make it right.
Learning.
Oh yeah, learning.
Life is a learning process. You can't always get it right the first time. You got to try harder.
Yes, definitely.
So, up-and-coming ways to see you. You're available. You're on Facebook. You're on the blogs. Any other last words that we'd like to share before we, unfortunately, come to the end of our show?
Find your balance, and always remember that there are always people out there who are supporting you.
Well, and you did that perfectly. So what's the website? Because of the balance?
Yep.
I think it's worth repeating one more time, Dorothy.
Balanceof7.com, and 7 is spelled out.
And folks can go there. They can sign up for your newsletter and learn all about the different aspects of the series as it unfolds. Very exciting.
Yes.
Dorothy Tinker, I want to thank you for joining me, and I appreciate you being part of tonight's show. Have a great evening.
You too, Rox. Have a good evening.
Thank you for listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage everyone to drop everything and read a great book by a Texas author. More information about this show or any of our shows from the past years can be found at radio.deartexas.info. That's radio.deartexas.info. I'm Randy James, your announcer for Dear Texas Radio.